We are live.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is a call to order for the special meeting of the Bridgeport Board of Education. The time is now 6:50. Pardon the delayed start. We had a couple of technical difficulties getting everybody on. In attendance is myself, Mr. Willie Medina, Ms. Esther Mary Jimenez, Mr. Albert Benahan, and Ms. Joanna Burks Jennings. We do have a quorum. We got Dr. Avery and his staff also present and accounted for. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Has anybody signed up for public comments?
No, there were no one who signed up.
Moving right along, the approval of minutes for the special meeting date is December 15th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes date?
So move, Mr. Benahan Grajales.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, edits, or corrections?
I do have some edits to page 7. So on page 7, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it references assistant, and I believe it should say assist. So it's super minor edits. And then the very last paragraph, it says, Ms. Russell, it said Mr. Garcia's team is a building capital improvement project. The A should be removed.
Is that all?
That's all.
Anybody else? Mr. McLeod, did you catch that? Or whoever's editing, Danielle? Okay, thank you. That is also all in favor as edited?
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is approval of the building operations 5-year fiscal year 27 to 2023 to, I'm sorry, fiscal year 2027 through 2031 capital plan. Who's taking that on?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us on this evening and having a special meeting to get this approved. Jamie, if you could bring up the PowerPoint. So as part of the process, as you guys know, we like to take you through the investments that were made in the district, not only through capital, but also grants and other means. In the past, it's been ESSER. We like to share the whole picture because I think it's important for folks to understand the investments that are being made in the district, the effort that's being put into the work that's being done in building operations, and also how we're stabilizing and making the district healthy and safe with every project that we embark on. So, Jamie, if we could scroll right into it. So some of our completed projects, the first one is the Fairchild Wheeler HVAC core replacements. We're straight piping those. It was a design flaw or a design that hasn't really held up to the test of time in terms of the functioning system over at Fairchild Wheeler. We've been working with the city council and we've gotten $200,000 a year to start to get these pipes straight piped for resiliency. Our second project is Carryout School. We've done major investment in Carryout, a complete roof replacement, HVAC upgrade from end to end, and then gym floor resurfacing. So we were able to capture 3 things in this work that was done. One is we're able to button up the envelope of the building, make it watertight. 2, make sure that the environment was addressed and that they have a healthy environment with exhaust, AC, heat. And then the gym floor was unsafe due to roof leaks, so we were able to address that also. Marin School, we did hallways, stairwells, cafeteria. We replaced all of the ceiling tiles. They were the old ceiling tiles that were made of, I forgot the name. Mike, what is the name of the ceiling tiles over at Marin that were in place before we replaced them?
They were a Tectum ceiling tile over there.
Yep. So the Tectum ceiling tiles, they're great for sound absorption, but they're terrible in collecting dust. So for the years and years that they were in place, they needed replacement. We were able to get that work done. JFK administration building, elevator modernization. We're always looking at ADA and making sure that our ADA standards are up to snuff. As you guys know, elevators are a big hindrance due to the fact that a lot of the parts that are needed have to be manufactured. They're long lead items. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve by modernizing them so these parts become a lot easier to access.
George, the Dunbar elevator modernization was on this page, but it's hidden by the photos.
Okay, and also we did Dunbar modernization, which was a complete forklift of the old and a whole new elevator put into Dunbar. JFK playground expansion. We had done the multicultural playground in the past. We've completed the High Horizons playground. That has solved some safety issues in the field that we were having with the pre-existing playscape. The outdoor classroom over at Fairchild Wheeler. This replaced the outdoor classroom that was destroyed by the tree that had fallen. And then we have the Beardsley School parking lot, which was spalding, and we were able to replace the entire parking lot with fresh new striping. Howland School restroom upgrades. We were able to upgrade the first floor restrooms. We hear a lot about the restrooms. We heard loud and clear when the students had come to board meetings and had concerns with restrooms. So we've made that a priority. So we're able to upgrade the first floor. We also did the JFK pool room roof painting. We unfortunately had to close the Blackham pool, so we have doubled down and have done end-to-end renovations at the JFK pool. It is solid as a rock at this point. New heaters, new HVAC system, painting of the roof. We've done a lot of work there. We want to make sure that we wrap that investment up nice and tight, and it's in good standing order at this time. Central High School, for all the Hilltoppers in the house. We had torn out the old floor, the existing floor, and we had replaced it with a new floor to include modern emblems. It's a beautiful, beautiful rendition. When they did the construction of Central, one of the VE items, which is value engineering, which is things that are taking out of a program based on budget, was the gym floor. The gym floor was starting to come apart. There were some roof leaks that we had buttoned up. So now we've got the envelope nice and tight, and the gym floor is replaced. There was an unveiling a couple weeks ago, and folks are ecstatic. It is the largest emblem of any high school or college in the Northeast. Bassick High School, as you guys know, we opened up the new Bassick. We started to decommission the old Bassick. It's something that we really need to have a conversation. I envision us either taking this into another committee or creating an ad hoc committee to discuss how we're going to exit Bassick. Right now, we have done everything we can in terms of decommissioning. There's a few items left. The biggest issue we have is that we're burning around $500 a day, correct, Mike? Or is it a week in fuel?
Last month was $14,000 in fuel.
18,000.
18,000. Okay.
Sorry,
So
Jimmy.
as you can see,
Okay.
the carrying cost alone in just gas is astronomical. These are things that we have got to really figure out what we're going to do and have some next steps here. I'd love to turn this over so we can stop the bleeding. But when you look at the old Bassick, we transitioned into the new Bassick. The opening was spectacular. The building is state of the art, and the students, they loved the facility, and you could tell just by the climate when you walk through the building. Projects in progress, playgrounds. So we have attacked playgrounds systematically because playgrounds is one of those things where it's one of our greatest liabilities. We're going to be doing Reed, Park City Magnet School, Madison School, Hooker School, Barnum School, and Clater pre-K surfacing. You guys had approved those projects. I believe all the contracts are done and we're in progress now. We are also doing the JFK 6 to 6 is our responsibility when it comes to capital. We're modernizing their elevator. Halland School restroom upgrades. We're going to start the basement and second floor. That will complete all of the restrooms this summer at Halland School. There's been tremendous investment made in Halland. New parking lot, new sidewalks, new gym, new cafeteria flooring, new furniture, now upgraded bathrooms. And then the cross HVAC controls. It's one of the last schools that is not controlled remotely. So we'll be doing that work in the near future. We're starting to create our next bid list for projects. Bryant School, the playground and site work. Bryant School is in dire need of site work. As you guys know, the playscape has been decommissioned. The lot is in terrible shape. The retaining wall that holds our property against our abutters is failed. The fencing is in terrible shape. The sidewalks are old asphalt sidewalks that are coming apart. There's liability after liability after liability. We were able to piece this together through capital and through some state funds, which you'll see in a couple slides from now. And we'll be able to reconstitute the entire site. Columbus Masonry, the front steps and the sidewalks, the front steps are starting to come apart a bit. It's becoming a liability. So in advance of creating a massive liability for ourselves, we're going to be replacing the entire front steps of Columbus School. The HVAC, we're going to be replacing a unit ventilator. Once again, environmental. We want to make sure that these students have the proper exhaust. Black Rock School exterior doors. I can't stress enough, when we look at things, we have to look at things from a 360 lens, because Black Rock School was rushed to get done. And when the budget came and we started doing the work at Black Rock, there were shortfalls, and a lot of that fell to the old existing building. So the original doors are still on the existing building, creating envelope issues. So we're going to be replacing those existing, exterior doors. We're going to, as part of our housekeeping and things that we do regularly, we're going to be doing the Hooker School boiler replacement and the Halland School boiler replacement to ensure continuity and resiliency. So grants, we're working through the Department of Energy grant, the $3.6 million. Had a chat today with Hannah. Funds are in. That is specific to 2 buildings, Marin and Johnson. We'll be creating smart schools finally. With the changes in government and the stop and go nature of things, this has been a prolonged grant. But now we have received this evening the 100% specs for the project. Mike Zirkle and Jamie have been running point on this. Jamie on the fiscal end, working with the University of Connecticut and UConn. Mike in the field. So we're at a point now where we can start to look at this from a different perspective, get RFPs out, and get this thing going. We're excited. This will be the beginning of a new Bridgeport in terms of how we manage our buildings and how we look at our buildings from a very finite lens. DRIP funds. So there was a grant that was given to us called DRIP. It's almost $1.4 million. We've already programmed that all out. We're working now to do the details. That'll be the south end HVAC control. So the current BMA building, it's one of the only disparate buildings. It's a BAS Mike, what is the system in there? Sorry, got a lot going.
That's the BMS system that are going to upgrade.
So we're going to be upgrading that to unify that with the rest of our HVAC systems. Mike has total control of the systems remotely. He's able to dial in hallways, change the timing of when things are on and off to save a nickel here, a dime there. Making sure that we have continuity across the district when it comes to HVAC. The Bryant playground site work. This is the residual cash needed to make this all happen. The Dunbar playground and fencing. That is the pre-K 2 playground out in front. We're going to be redoing that. Pour in place, new playscape, new fencing. We have the Halland and Hooker School HVAC units. Now, those are smaller boilers for extended areas where we can't get enough utility to. So we're going to be bringing in smaller boilers to be able to make sure that we have continuity and that the climate is the same across the whole entire building. And then we get into our 2027 through 31 capital requests. So as you can see, what we wanted to do here is we have been working closely with Public Works along with the team to sort of weave the needs of the district into the 5-year plan. There's a reality and then there's the facts, right? So the reality is that the city is only going to be able to bond to a certain extent this year. They typically tell us what they're going to be bonding to, and then we sort of will tailor our yearly that year's plan based on what they're gonna fund or what they're gonna bond for. Because what ends up happening is we could put a wish list together, and we're gonna have to dismantle that wish list, do the work again, go through the whole entire process. So we want to be as accurate, do it one time. So like that, the work and effort that's being put in can be put in across the district, not tied into one thing, because as you can imagine, things like this take a long time. But this year we have done dual paths. So the plan on the left is the plan that the city is looking to bond for. The plan on the right is purely based on the facilities master plan priority needs, priority ones. Jamie, go to the next slide just so I can give them a bit of a breakdown of how this all works out. Let's go one more.
One more.
Yeah. So what we've done is we've taken the facilities master plan data, right? Because this is a living document, right? This document's going to change. This document has already changed drastically by some of the work that we've already done. Depending on some of the recommendations and things that we may want to do into the future, the document will change. This is a document that it's like when we would come to you with recommendations based on what the needs in the field are. This is a third party verifying all of that. Because as you guys, some of the senior members on the board will remember, we've been talking about the same things for the last 5 years since I've been back. We've just validated it with the third party. What we've done in the 5-year plan was we took the priority ones, the stuff in red, right? Some items in yellow, and we've weaved those into the 5-year plan because these are the most critical needs that need to be done. A lot of them immediately, but a lot of them over the first 1 through 3 years. But we're going to take it into a 5-year chunk, understanding the magnitude of the dollars and the investment needed. So Jamie, now let's backtrack a couple slides. I just wanted to give them a sense of how we got here. So this is our plan. As you can see, we weaved year 1 in based on what the city was saying they're going to bond, because there's only so much capacity for the city to bond. When the grand list doesn't grow and, other elements and conflicting needs outside of the educational sphere, we want to make sure that we're getting as much as we can. Now, as you can see with the work that's already been done, there's substantial work that's happened. There's substantial work that's in progress, and there's substantial work that's being done by other means and other funding sources. We are not going to rest on our laurels. Like I said, I was on the phone today with grants talking about different opportunities and if there's anything else out there and some of the needs that we see. So year 1, it's 12.6. So this is this year's plan, right? And then we go on from there. This year's plan, we're taking into account asbestos abatement at $100,000. That's needed for different projects that we have to do. So with a district of this vintage, typically when you're touching something and you have to replace a major component, there is a very high cost in terms of asbestos. So we have to have abatement done, and it takes a tremendous amount of work with containments and all that good stuff. We've been able to bucket some things. So we have district-wide building maintenance. So we have restroom upgrades program for Blackham. We have Cross, new emergency generator. We're talking about resiliency and safety, Marin exterior door replacements. There's been a tremendous amount of investments made at Marin, and this is one of the final investments to get that building up to about 90%. That building is going to be in tremendous shape. That's been a lot of work over the last 5 years. The JFK locker replacement, we were able to replace to the west of the first floor lockers. This is the second floor lockers. That $50,000 is part of the issue with those locker replacements. There's some asbestos that needs to be handled within that. And then Bryan exterior doors. As part of Bryant, we understand that, we want to continue to push in a direction where our buildings are solid as they can be. We get the site reconstituted, and then we get those doors done. We button up that envelope, and we'll continue to make investments as needed, but it puts us in a solid place, and it addresses some safety issues. Then we get into district-wide masonry. Roosevelt. So there's a cut through at Roosevelt between the center and our building. They cut up through there, and it's becoming unsafe. So we're going to create a stairwell there because folks are cutting through there, and it's just a accident waiting to happen. So that work is programmed in here. We have the Black Rock pavers. So there's a system at the Black Rock, the new building side. They're pavers that float on pillars. The pillars are made of foam. So they're starting to degrade, and now we're having issues where it's an unsafe situation. So we're going to bring in solid pairs and redo that whole entire promenade area at Black Rock. And then playgrounds, we'll do the final playscape over at Reed, and then we'll do the surfacing on the larger playscape at Dunbar, and that'll solve. Those schools will now have new playscapes, and we can take those off the books in terms of safety. Sidewalks, Carrial, the pavers out in front of Carrial, there's a lot of issues with those pavers now that are becoming unsafe. So we're going to swap that out to concrete. That's that work. And then we have a cost share here for Central High School. This is for the chiller replacement. Believe it or not, the new chiller from the new construction, which was a smart chiller, which I don't know why it was spec'd. I wasn't here when they did that project, but it's failing. So we have to replace that chiller. So we're gonna go at this. We're gonna go after this not only with capital funding, but we're gonna embark on a non-priority list with the state. So this will be state money, city money, 1.7-ish, I believe, $1 million to get this work done. But that is the cost share for that. We want to do the Hallen roof, and that will make that building complete, right? With all of the other investments that we've made in the building. We want to get that rooftop done. And then once again, the Fairchild Wheeler chill beams at $200,000 that we've been doing a year. It's like a 10-year project, believe it or not, to get those all done. But we've had several failures. When there's a failure, glycol will spew out of the system, and in some instances do tremendous damage. We've had to reconstruct rooms, offices, and classrooms due to this. So, this is butting up that issue. Right now, our focus is on critical infrastructure or critical areas to make sure that we mitigate against failures in places where it's going to be a larger expense if there's a failure. The East End School. So there's been talk, and it's a hot topic, about the east side of the city of Bridgeport. As we know, there are several schools in that area that are 90 to 100-year-old range. The city wants to start the conversation of the potential of building a new school. There's several different things that need to happen in order for that to happen. This is one of many steps. This is just saying that, they would put up the money. I'm not sure if they'll bond immediately for it, but they'll have authorization to bond for it. It gives us the ability to continue to work. So with that said, Jamie, if we go into the next slide. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me touch on this other tile here. So this tile is 2027, purely taking in the facilities master plan and plugging those numbers on the priority ones. As you can see, it's an astronomical number, and we know that the city's not going to bond $33 million. But within this, there are some opportunities if we build the East End School to shrink those dollars. So we'll go on to the next slide so I can talk through some of that conceptual stuff that we'll be diving into once we get into the facilities master plan, which I would recommend we create an ad hoc committee to take on the facilities master plan. There's been so much going on in the district that there's a lot of things that keep getting lost in the process, right? So we have our budget that, has been a heavy lift last year. We're moving into a new budget cycle, which is a heavy lift. We've had the state, so there's been a lot of documentation and work that we've had to do with the state. One of the biggest issues is that we don't have a large team. In facilities, there's 3 of us that sort of lead these major projects. And as you can see, it's a lot of work tremendous amount of work that's happening. So there's only so much capacity before you start to burn people out. And one of the things that we see is that folks have been leaving, right? Because of the amount of work and stress. And we're at a point now where we need to start to think about where we spend our time, right? Because there's people's well-being, right, that we have to take into account here. But with all of that said, our team does not rest, and we will do what we need to do. But, we wanted to just frame that a little bit because it is becoming more and more difficult for everyone across the district, not just facilities. But with that said, we've looked at the district, we've looked at the facilities master plan, and we wanted to give you a bit of a snapshot on how some of this can sort of come, how there could be some clarity or how we can shrink some of these major numbers. So we know that the plan says that there's $700 million worth of needs to make this district a healthy district, a safe district, a district that has a chance, a fighting chance to deliver the school environment, an educational environment for these children to succeed, right? So with that said, we have to look at it from a different perspective. We've got to put the work in, right? So we have the Winthrop renovation that is currently underway. We are in design documents. I sat in an RFP for 5 hours today for the commissioning agent of that project. That project now is moving forward. We've got a site design. If you want to see what that site looks like, it's on our website, the facilities website. We're still early in the infancy of this because, we'll be getting the public more involved. We've had the parents group at the school already engaged. We've had a meeting with them, shared the design with them, started talking through what some of the nuances and needs are, because we want to understand what the community has to say in all of this. So that project is on its way. And it's an $80 million program. The city's funding all of it. It was a 78.57 reimbursement. But one of the things that, when talking to Dr. Avery and through his leadership is we need more pre-K, right? Pre-K is a need across the district. You hear me say this nonstop because I'm at these schools and I talk to these parents and I know what their needs are. And, what we've done is we've been weaving a heavy element of pre-K into these buildings. So not only did we get the 78.57% from the state, we also got a 15% kicker on top of that. So that program now is at 92%, right? For reimbursement. Now we also added the SCANE program to that. So the square footage in the SCANE program is reimbursable at a higher rate also. So although we're not putting any money out of pocket here, my job is to ensure that there's a larger return on investment for our residents. Because I don't look at this as just us versus them and them versus us. I look at this as a former resident of the city of Bridgeport. How do we get the biggest bang for our buck? The SCANE Winter program is doing that, and that'll be 2028 opening. Be a spectacular project. Another project that's been funded and we'll start work on after the first of the year is a special ed center. That special ed center is going to reside at the old SCANE property. We've been talking about that internally in cabinet. I know that they're excited about, finally having a specialized center to really start to ramp up special ed. Dr. Avery has been passionate about that, and we're making that happen. We're going to ensure that this is a state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind facility in an urban school district that is going to be the class in terms of a special ed center. So that project will kick off after the first of the year, and then, more details to come on that. And then we start talking about what does the future look like? So there's been a lot of conversation, and last year there was an effort in the potential of the East End School, we'll call it now, right? Of that being the bonding. That might have been the bonding money that we had got, but we had pivoted to the special ed center because we need to stop the bleeding. The special ed center gives us the opportunity to stop sending kids out of district, right? Which costs us a ton of money. And it gives us the stability in terms of special ed that we need. So with that said, the better investment up front was for the special ed center. So fast forward to now we're looking at what's next. And when we look at the district and we look at where the needs are and where the priorities are, Jamie, if you go on to the next real quick. As you can see, Beardsley, Hall, Park City Magnet, Edison, That's the elementary school capital needs per square foot, right? On the right side, elementary school capital needs per student. It's all the same, right? So we know where we're spending the most money and not getting the biggest return based on data. So Jamie, let's go through some of the next slides just so to get a sense of what it looks like. So for instance, this is your overview. This is a executive summary of what the costs for Bearsley will be to get it up to a healthy state, right? This is not building a new school. This is just purely fixing what's broken, making sure the environmental situation works, which there isn't any because there aren't any unit ventilators. There's no ventilation in these buildings or anything of that nature. They're not ADA compliant, but it's $26.9 million just to get it fixed, we'll call it. Let's go to the next slide. And here we have Edison School, $13.5 million. Same thing, no new spaces. It doesn't get us ADA compliant. We're not getting anything that's going to bring it up to the 21st century schooling that we need, right? That we should be getting our children. Let's go on to the next. And then we have Hall, which is $17.8 million. Same scenario. So let's go back to the construction. So with that said, you're talking about $58 million in needs. So we'll call it 60 million when you're all said and done with design costs, soft costs, everything else that goes into projects of this magnitude. We're talking about at reimbursement rate of 68.57%, a $40 million investment versus the $60 million. So right off the bat, you're better spending your money on a brand new building, state of the art. The intent will be to build a K8.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
I kind of gonna have to interrupt you a little bit over there.
Yep.
I was just looking today at the reimbursement rates, the general construction reimbursement rate for 2025 is at 78%, not
Yeah.
68%.
Yep, you're right.
We need to be acting with our accurate numbers here. Please.
Yep, you're right. That's a typo.
Because I looked at some of this because I do not see the numbers here, and this is what I was having an issue with earlier. Those numbers like you did for the new East End school, and you computed the city costs. We should have those very same costs for the city and everybody to look at. If we were to redo all those general construction schools, it would cost us approximately $13 million for the city side at that reimbursement rate. So we could compare basically apples to apples. Even though it's not a new school, it will be a functioning school if we do all the 10 years work in the same time.
With that said, we wouldn't be eligible for the reimbursement rates of new construction or renovation based on the size of the site itself. So in order for us to put application in, we have to have a minimum of 6 acres per site. Those acres are less than 2 acres per site. So we wouldn't be eligible for renovate as new or renovation or new building on those sites. So we would be paying the whole sum of the $58 million.
So we can never replace a roof or anything there and get capital.
We can replace a rooftop. We can do those things, but we bear the total cost. Now, rooftops, non-priority stuff we can do. Priority stuff we can't. So the kind of work that's needed is priority, right? Because we need to reconstitute the whole building. The state's not going to give us $26 million for Bearsley. They're going to tell us, look, you need a new school based on the vintage, based on the fact it's not ADA compliant and things like that. With all of this said, right, let's just take the East End School, for instance. At the 78.57% reimbursement rate, right, we are going to be adding a whole wing of pre-K, and we intend on building one of the most efficient buildings in an urban school district in this nation. We're not sitting back saying we're just going to build a building. We're going to show what Bridgeport can do, and we want this to be a teaching tool for our students. So we're looking at the potential of kickers of 15% on top of the 78.57, which will get us over 90%. Now, there's another way to look at this. And if you look at this long term, and it's something that we'll be discussing in an ad hoc committee potentially for the facilities master plan, is that other districts throughout the state have gotten enhanced reimbursement rates. Windsor, for instance, was at 20, they're at 50. Currently, Stanford was at like 50, they're at 80 or 90% reimbursement for 20 years. Our delegation is on board and working the channels to potentially look to get the reimbursement rate to 90%, 10 cents on the dollar for the resident, to give us state-of-the-art buildings. So that 125 million at 90% is 12.5 million. With soft costs, you're talking $16 million for a state-of-the-art 750 students school in an area where there is not enough space to build a school. If the city had sold that site to the hospital, we would have no site in that area to build a new school. There's not enough acreage. We looked at every single address in the zip codes in all three of those areas. So with that said, the reason why I go through this long form of explaining some of this is because as a whole, the Board of Education as a whole, we have got to start looking at things differently. If the city and the delegation want to fund at 100% cost, because there's no cost to us, state-of-the-art facilities for our children to have a fighting chance, then we need to have that conversation. So with that said, we even projected out what the next recommendation on the facilities master plan was. And that's the magnet campus, which encompasses several things. Now, this is something that we'll go back to, but we wanted to give you a framework for why we're looking to have that allocation in this year's plan for the capital. So, James, let's go back now. So here we are, 5-year capital plan. Year 1, 12.6. Year 2, 26.2. Year 3, 17.8. Year 4, 24.6. And year 5, 34.7 for a grand total of 116 million. That is going to change. Every year, this is going to change based on the fact that we're out there actively looking for grants, finding new ways to make things happen, whether it's through utility rebates, through savings in utilities, what have you. But this will constantly change, just like the facilities master plan will change based on activity. So this is the 5-year plan that we're looking for approval this evening. I will take any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Ms. Jimenez?
Thank you. I have a few questions. Just 2 questions. So you were mentioning the HVAC controls and exterior door replacement, Mr. Garcia, and I wanted to know if you had reached out to Energize Connecticut, because they can give you rebates for the HVAC controls for sure, but they might be able to give you custom incentives to the exterior doors, so that can help put some money back into our pockets. So that was comment number 1, and or question. And then the second one was around the Roosevelt. Well, actually, you had a number of projects that had masonry included, and I'm not sure. I'm sure you know, but Buller Havens has a masonry department, and I'm wondering if we can leverage them to do the work. The juniors and the seniors would do the work, and you would still have to pay for materials, but labor would be free. I'm not sure if that's an option.
Okay, I'm going to take that one first because I'm passionate about that idea. We've had the internship program in the department with youngsters for years. Years ago, we would get some youngsters from Bullard Havens to help out because obviously the trades, they line up well. Most of our tradesmen graduated from Bullard Havens, so there's that link and that lineage there. The only issue we have on a project of that scope is the timing. So where, most folks look at a project in a 12-month calendar. We look at major projects in a 2-month calendar. We only have the summer to get this work done in most instances. So, we've got to figure out the fastest, leanest way to make it happen. But with that said, there are other opportunities to engage Bullard Havens. So I like that idea, and we will circle back on that in another facilities committee, because there's some ideas that I want to pitch to the board in terms of expanding our internship program this upcoming summer. To question number one, Energize CT is a partner. They're one of the partners in that Renew America grant. They paid for the upfront commissioning work that needed to be done for us to submit. We've gotten $80,000 for work and boilers. We've got reimbursements for HVAC work. We've done the all of the LED lighting at no cost out of pocket. That's $1 million a year we save through that program. We've also, Mike had just got, Mike, what was your last project with the heating that you just got done at minimal cost?
That was a steam trap. Oh, well, the replacement of failed steam traps at Park City Magnet, Reed, Blackham, and I can't remember the fourth school off the top
We
of
are
my head.
so plugged in with any place that there's a
Awesome.
dollar, because we know we're not going to come to you and say we need money. We're going to make sure that every single leaf is turned and we looked at every single corner before we come and say we need something. But thank you for those questions, because it runs perfectly in line with what we're trying to accomplish.
Awesome. And my last question, I totally missed. So I know there was emails going back and forth about the Dunbar ceiling, and I didn't see it on here. Is it because it's not a capital investment project and it's more like repair and maintenance? Because I know you guys are working on it, but I didn't see it on here.
So it's a Dunbar roof project, and you're talking about over the gymnasium, correct?
The cafeteria.
The cafeteria.
There was in the cafeteria there was mold right under the
that's
auditorium.
Tisdale. That's the one that
Yep.
that we have that spot over the stage. That one, Mike is working with Tesla right now because they've got to remove 40 solar panels in order
Yeah.
for us to get to that. More than likely that's going to be a summer project, just because of the scope of work that needs to be done.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just wondering, yes, totally got the name of the school incorrect, but it was Tisdale. We did a board forum this past summer there. Okay, excellent. That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Benahan.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, hello. How are you?
Not
Thank
bad.
thank you for your presentation. Like always, very professional. You and your team, they always do an amazing job. I love it. Question: you say about the school, the Blackham School, the pool is closed. There wouldn't be a future or something like that would be fix it, later on.
I would love to. I would love to reconstitute that at one point. One of the recommendations is complete renovation of Blackham, and at that point, I think that we would embark on that. Pools are very expensive, and the reimbursement rates are kind of tricky. But if our delegation can get us to a point where reimbursements make sense and the city's willing to expend the dollars, I see that as a project that would make a ton of sense, providing that kind of amenity to the students. With that said, there's a philanthropist group that we're working with now. Through Dr. Avery's visionary wisdom, we started talking with some philanthropists for the potential of some. I won't let the cat out the bag, but one of the things that are on the table is a pool in Bridgeport, funded through an outside source, and the city paying 20% of the cost. So we are actively looking at this from end to end.
No, I understand. I'm not talking about something now. We got another project, but I have a friend in you. I know you know how to do the numbers. I know how you do everything. Also, when you talk about the bathroom, I know some bathrooms when I went to business school, they not look like a handicap, especially with parents. They go to the bathroom, they not look for handicap. They're not worried about that one. Did you check some bathroom? They're not for handicap visitors or especially something students.
Yep. So that's one of the issues that we have because of the vintage and the age of our schools. Many of our schools do not have the most up-to-date standards in terms of ADA, and there's no way for us to overcome to get those up to the current standards. Wherever we can, we're making the changes that we can make, but in all instances, we can't make all of those modifications due to the current state of the facilities themselves.
Because I don't want later, some parents or visitors or students come, look, I'm a handicapped person, I'm disabled, and I can't use the bathroom. And, after that, they will come, like we say, drama, and we don't want that. That's why I want to be sure that the school know, or the school had, let's say, they can use someone of the staff or the principal, bathroom, so they can know if you cannot use that bathroom, at least they will have another one, they can use it. That's I'm worried about it.
No, I totally understand, and it's a priority for us. As you can see, we started with Hallen, we did JFK a couple years ago. We're moving on to Blackham this year, so we're trying to chip away at everything we can from end to end. We're trying to show as much love to as many schools and address all of the safety and health issues first, because we want to reduce our liability and make sure that our children are in the best environment they can be.
Thank you. And you talk about the old Bassett High School. What I know last time I asked you what the locker room, all this metal thing. I know the last night you said they're gonna be bent, they're gonna sell it. What was the update of that?
So we did the auction. The auction yielded, was it $15,000, I believe, somewhere in that range. 8,000 of that we've already expended for the removal of chemicals, which was completed, I believe, last week. We have some funding left over, but there's a heavy lift there. We've got everything out that we can through auction. There's desks, old desks that probably have to be disposed of. That's one of the things I want to discuss with the city side, if we could leave those in place, being that they're minimal. But that's a conversation that we need to have, because we need to turn this building back over. We don't have the money to continue to hang on to it. There was a break-in over the weekend. That's the fourth or fifth break-in. It's a matter of time before they start ripping the utility out, creating an unsafe environment. We have one custodian that's in there every day. Our management team is cycling through. We don't have the resources for this, and we need to turn this back over for a host of reasons that we can really dig into in a meeting.
I agree with you. I know that the last time there are some antique stuff. They really removed all the antique stuff for the new Bassett High School. Or they're gonna keep moving stuff.
The stuff that was so Dr. Rayola puts a teacher in charge of that. They removed all of the relics that needed to be removed. I believe they've already started putting those out in the new Bassett. They haven't completed that process yet, so it's a work in progress. But as you walk through Bassett, the new Bassett is changing every day. As we start to really get our feet under us in that building, things are starting to be taken out of the archive and put up, and it's going to be home.
And you said something about for the gas last month, $18,000. I agree with you. I don't know what we're waiting for to give that building back, because right now we spend a lot of money. Like you said, something's broken, any pipe or anything. There can be the boiler, there can be anything, because I know I see it, I was witness. That's gonna cost us money, not the city, right? So
We don't have the money.
It's us, the BOE. We still have that building. We don't give it back. So I don't know why we're waiting to give that building back.
And what I can tell you without a question of a doubt is that we do not have the funds for any of that. We'll be talking about our budget soon. And right now we cannot withstand any catastrophe in that building.
That's the reason we have New Bassett High School. So we have to give. I don't know. We have to give that building back. I want to give that building back. And also the playground at Dunbar School. That was I know was a very terrible last year. They really fixed it. They did something.
So there's been minor repairs done that are not holding up. The playscapes themselves need to be replaced. So now we have a path for both the pre-K playscape, which is you guys approved for us to get the contract signed by Dr. Avery. That'll happen in the spring. And then we will be doing the larger playscapes, pour in place, based on funding that we were able to reallocate in old capital. So we always look at our projects. See, our goal is always to come in under budget if we can. So we work hard at that, because if we're able to save $1, we're able to take that dollar and reinvest it. And a lot of projects that we've been able to do that are on our project in progress list are projects that are being done with dollars that we saved in other projects. So if we don't work at that level, then we can't create, right? And in order for this district to move forward, we have to create every single day. and that's what we're doing.
Right. Thank you. And the last thing I'm gonna say, like always, I told you, thank you, you and your team, because you do an awesome job. I know it's not easy. You guys go, day and night, weekends, to be sure you and your team and your department do an amazing job. I know you're short of staff, you're short of money, but you spend that money, you spent your employees. I know one employee sometimes had to do 4 or 5 jobs at the same time. Nobody see that. I see that. And I know my colleagues, they see that in the cabinet. But I would say thank you. I would say thank you. Thank you to your team. You guys do an amazing job. We're very lucky to have you in our district. Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Vice Chair. No more questions.
Before I go again, I'm gonna ask Burks Jennings, do you have any questions?
No, I'm pretty clear on everything. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Mr. Medina?
Hey guys, how you doing? Thank you very much, Chair. How do I wrap myself around this real quick? So you had 200. You mentioned that I'm gonna go way back, George. So I apologize. You mentioned in the beginning about Fairchild Wheeler that was 200 K a year for those replacements of those coils, correct?
What we're replacing is a shark bite fitting that has a tendency to fail, and we're straight piping that now. Fairchild Wheeler has an exotic, I'll call it, HVAC system. It's a chilled beam system. Not really made for this end of the universe, but they put it in. So we're resolving issues that come along with that by straight piping at $200,000 a year, and it'll take. I think we're into year 3, so we have another 7 years of this. The council is well aware. We've educated them. We showed them some data when we do the capital presentation, so they've been funding that for us.
Thank you. On Marin, you mentioned there was a presentation part of it that said hallways and stairwells. But there wasn't. I didn't see any identifying work that was said as was done there. And
The
then
ceiling tiles.
all of it was ceiling tiles, so the whole
All-
3 sections. Got it.
Yep, all those sections were done. What we did was, once again, you never know what the bid environment is going to come back at. So we did add alternates. So, we had our base and then we had 2 alternates. They bid on all of them. Thank God it came in under budget, so we're able to do all of the work.
And I had a question about the Hallen school restrooms, but you answered it, I think, in the next slide that the other floors are being worked on. Now the pool at JFK, is that officially open and functioning and being utilized at this moment or not?
Yes, it is. So there was some work done that we needed to redo. We did some rubber treads. When we did that work, there was some humidity, so the treads started to come up a bit. The company came back out on the warranty and did that work about a month ago. So we're up and running.
Now, also, I didn't see anything that was illuminated or highlighted. The Blackham, what's happening with Blackham School? I thought that was something that they were due for reconstruction or renovation as new, or what's happening with that? I didn't see anything under
Yep.
Blackham that I saw.
So Blackham is in the facilities master plan, and once again, I can't express. I know you guys want to, and I want to also dig into this facilities master plan. That is one of the recommendations on the roadmap for schools that need to be renovated is new. So that one is out. You have Winthrop, special ed, potential East End, potential magnet campus, and then I believe it is Blackham after that. Blackham is a bit of a trick because it's large. How do we break up the population? So there's a lot of moving pieces to that one. So
No,
but
well
we
aware,
have a
but
theory.
I just knew that it was, it was up before and then all of a sudden it got bounced out. I graduated from Blackham, so it's part of my my family tree, let's say. That being said, I don't see 2 things, and maybe I'm missing it, but I don't see in the capital request for 27 to 31 anything for John Winthrop. So was that already? There's nothing being done from 27 all the way to 31 for John Winthrop, or
We're
did I
building the
miss
new
something?
Winthrop. We're building the new Winthrop.
So that's why there's nothing in here
Yep.
for that.
Mhm.
Just
We're gonna deliver a state of the art building to that school population, along with a
yeah,
state of the art skating program.
Yeah, I just didn't see anything. Then you actually mentioned in your presentation, with all due respect, you're adding, you have added the East End School, and the East End School, respectfully so, was never mentioned in the facilities master plan, but all of a sudden it's being referenced here regarding the facilities master plan, and I just wonder what's happening with that, and why is that being projected as is it was part of the facilities master plan? Because
It
that was
is. That's one of the next recommendations in terms of the recommendations that are in the plan. That is
in the
one of the
facilities
recommendations.
master plan.
Yes. So everything that we're doing, we're basing it on a facilities master plan as a guiding document. Because obviously there's been a tremendous amount of work. We have all the details. It's substantiated based on outside engineering. Listen, we could have did that study ourselves because we know where our problems are. But we have that outside agency come in, verify everything, and that is on the roadmap. That the Magnet campus, the renovation of Blackham, I believe Reed School is on there, JFK is on there. It projects out for 10 years in terms of construction recommendations because everything is a recommendation.
Well, absolutely. I look forward to stepping on the side and you revealing that for me directly. So that's not a problem. Now Curiel, I just want to mention it because I know it was something that came up before. Curiel School now has a functioning AC, so
Yep, I believe we just closed that project out. Correct, Mike? Jamie? Final billing and everything?
Yes, the project has been has been completed. The new air conditioning system to air condition the entire school.
so that is working right now. That's being utilized at the school now.
It will be come summertime.
Well, yes, the air
Yeah, of
conditioning is
course.
not running today.
Yeah, I don't want to freeze
run
these folks
today.
out.
I was looking at something and I think I found the answer, but I'm gonna still jump into that. Can we go to slide? Let me get you guys going here. So it's the one after all the colors, the one that says the one after the figure 425 with all the graphs, the one after that. That after that one, please. Yep, that one there.
Yep.
Now I see, for example, it says the interior architect is at you have it at 43%.
Yeah, so this is the outside engineering firm. All of this data is based on a facilities condition assessment, the FCA. This was done by architects, engineers, MEPs. They do all of this work. It's not influenced by us because obviously we want to understand what their take is on everything. So this is the data that they've provided to us in the facilities master plan.
And this is only Beardsley School, correct? This data that you're showing.
This is just purely Beardsley School. This is, if you extrapolate it, there's probably 60 pages of information, detailed information for every single subcategory. This just gives you the overall view, so it's easier to consume.
Okay, yeah, I just asked because I know I'm involved in the facility master plan, and
Yep.
I saw that interior architect number at 30%, but this one says 43, and that's why I said I think I pulled it out. That it's probably because it's just specific to Beardsley School, and I wanted to ask that question because all those numbers don't match for me. Even the one in the bottom, the primary justification of project, in the facility master plan.
So so depending on how you're looking at it, if you're looking at the detail, the numbers will not that when you add them all up, they'll be the same. But depending, Jamie, go back one slide. Depending on the priority, so there's the priority 1, 2, 3. So like let's say it's a priority 1, a chunk of that work is priority 1, but another chunk is priority 5. When you add them all up, the aggregate number will be the total number. But if you're looking at the priority ones, you're going to just see the priority $1 amount.
I understood what you said, but that doesn't work with my head right now because I'm looking at the facilities master plan and I'm looking at those numbers, and this one's got the 10-year forecast by priority, just like you said. So it's got all of them: the immediate, the high 1 to 3, the medium 4 to 5, and the low 6 to 10. It's got all the numbers here, but just a number thing. And I thought the simple answer was, oh, this one's just specifically to Beardsley School, but there might be more to it. But okay.
Yeah, because you have a range, right? There's a range. So there's the low, there's the high range, right? Because we don't know where we're going to end up. So they give us a range. They say this could be the lowest amount this will cost you, but it should not exceed this amount. So there's a lot of variables. This is why we need to have a meeting purely on facilities master plan, so we can go through the theory and ideology and how they came to these numbers and everything. And you guys will understand it once we dig in to the theory behind all of this.
Thank you. Look forward to that meeting too.
Session Member Jimenez.
I just have two quick questions. They're kind of based on what something Mr. Benahan Grajales said. And so when we give back a building to the city, and let's say what happens after, let's say, my concern is, if we give the building back to the city, right, can we reuse it? Let's say there's a need all of a sudden for a school on the west side. Can we get it back, or once we give it back, that's it?
So we'll take Harding, right? Harding, the property stayed available, right? And we just lucked out that the sale with the hospital never happened, and we're able to circle back. It's in the city's best interest to have something lined up for these buildings, or you're going to have another Harding, right? Because that's what happens. But in the instance of Bassick, because the costs are so enormous, I think it's like almost $90 million. It's in our best interest to give it back. In that area, there are other opportunities and other parcels that if we needed to do something and the city wanted to fund it, we can find sites. Our enrollment in that area is kind of low. We know that we have plenty of space at Curial if we needed to add an addition or do something there. We have opportunities in that area. The east end of Bridgeport, there are no opportunities.
Gotcha. And then my last question is about the RFP. So how does the RFP take place? Is this something that goes through the city's procurement department and then released out to a number of bidders? How does that work?
So the city, through economic development, their OPED department will put out a solicitation for RFP, and then folks will respond. And then they go ahead and go through that process. It's their process because ultimately it's their facility. What they want to do now is we start early, because under my watch, I'm not going to have a Harding. You get what I'm saying? That's not going to happen, because the number one thing for us is to be good stewards, because we want to build a bridge in a partnership that's sustainable and that's going to last into the future. We don't do that if we give them something that, we didn't take care of. That's why this is so important to us. This is why Joe Sokolovic himself was part of the original group that put together the draft for how we decommission a building, because we want to ensure that we have an itemized list with signatures and making sure that we crossed every T and dotted every I. Because once again, it's easy to let things slide and then have bigger issues. That's not fair to the taxpayer.
All right. Thank you. That's all my questions.
And I'm going to ask a couple of questions now myself before I go back to you, Mr. Medina. Right. You mentioned the energy bill at Bassick. Do we got a new updated number? Because I'm trying to get a handle on the new Harding has a bigger electrical cost than the old Harding. What was the difference in the bills between the two? Did we ever get that?
No, but we could whip up an analysis. We have that data. Mike and Jamie are very good at keeping the details, so we can get you a comparison, old versus new.
Right.
We could do both.
Do we have the bill for the new Bassick? Yeah,
I think it's easier for us to do Bassick because we have all that data is accessible. So we'll give you a comparison, new and old Bassick.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too. Okay. Now the 6-to-6 magnet. So I just want to make sure I heard you right. 6-to-6 magnet school.
We have to do all of the capital work.
We have to do all the capital work, and this
because
is a school.
the city owns the building.
This is the school that we send our children to, that we have to pay the state tuition to attend in a building where we have to fund the capital costs?
Yes, because the city owns a facility. And because we're stewards of the work in the educational sphere, we manage that work. So the city funds it. Obviously, we manage it.
And does the city get any reimbursement for the state for the use of the building to charge us rent to occupy?
There had to be some kind of a MOU that was created at one point. The details of that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, that's beyond, I know that's beyond your scope. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
If Dr. Avery, if we could look into that, because that seems very, 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 very unfair, because I'm almost sure there's probably no compensation coming our way through that. And if there is, I would like to see some documentary evidence of that, because we need every dollar we could get. We're pinching pennies here. All right, now let's see. What the really asked that one.
Hey, through the chair, George, let's circle back on that tomorrow. I need to wrap my head around that as well. If we could find an MOU, that would be great as well as we do a research.
And between OPED and the business office and the attorneys, I'm sure there's something somewhere. We'll track something down.
Got a lot more confidence than I do.
And through you, I do every quarter do a report on utilities and expenses for 6 to 6 that I send to the business office and grants department. I'm not sure if we get a reimbursement for that, but I do believe there is some structure to that. I do the report and send it.
Thank you. Yeah, that'll be very helpful to make sure we're getting every dollar we can back out of what we're sending out. Now let's circle back to the Black Rock School and indoors. Black Rock School was renovated in 2015, correct?
Yes.
And it was a whole new building. How big is the Black Rock site?
I have the facilities.
I have the
stewardship report. So I did send a copy of the stewardship report to the chairs, both vice president and president. May want to distribute. It just has the data of the district. So Black Rock, 67,000 square feet on 1.6 acres.
1.6 acres. And what's the acres that the state requires renovation and new construction on to reimburse us?
6. The city paid above average, I believe, on that project.
And what would that percentage be?
I'm not sure. That's why we ran out of money. We couldn't do anything in the old building. So we've been literally, there's 2 systems. There's a system in the new building. Mike, was anything done in the old building?
The library and science classroom in the old building were renovated with the new construction because the walls actually abutted and were, I believe, removed from the science room and the library of the old building, and new walls were built to accommodate the new construction.
Right. So new
I believe
construction.
that was the only modifications in the old building.
Right. So theoretically, in 2015, they did new construction / some overhaul renovation and did get reimbursements in 2015 on a site that's less than 6 acres. On a site that's less than 6 acres, but sometime between 2015, that changed to make that an impossibility to ever pull off again.
It's not an impossibility. It's just the city's going to fund that project.
Did the city
you're not going to. We're not going to. We're not going to be able to. So there's a checklist of things that have to happen in order for you to be able to apply for a state grant, a DS grant. I'm not sure the details on Black Rock because I don't think I was here for that project. That was one of my hiatuses away. But once again, that project was slapped, a new building slapped onto old building. Here we are holding the bag on this old building. Now there's 2 issues there. That was underfunded because probably they had to pay a higher reimbursement rate, I'm assuming, and the systems in the building don't even work. We've had to modify, Mike had to design, because we didn't have money, had to design a heating system which failed. The AC and the heat in that building have failed, the VRF systems. So what we're doing now is we've been catching up the older building, right? Trying to do what we can with our limited dollars. We've done some some LVT in the lunchroom, in the hallway, in the teacher's room. Now we need to do those exterior doors because things are failing and they're becoming unsafe.
Right. This is why it's important to get moving on this facility master plan, because these questions should have been answered by now within this discussion. Because right now I cannot really approve. Right now you're giving me, first it was impossible to do something on the 6 acres. Now there was a way and there was reimbursements before, but we have no numbers to compare. If we could pull off a BlackRock style
You're going to do that 3
reconstruction, a new
times.
construction in Hall, Edison, and it wasn't Brian. We moved Brian. It was Beardsley.
So
On those properties, if we could do new, we have no idea of the cost. We have no cost comparison data for keeping neighborhood schools, which is preferable to people because kids could walk to the school. They could walk out their house across the street, and we have no cost comparison. What we got is really nothing that I can make an intelligent decision on to approve this plan this evening, and that's because we've been dragging our feet on this facilities master plan. This might be more settled in my head if we were to do the responsible thing and have these conversations about this facilities master plan and make these decisions. Because as you know, once we put this in, we are predicating this on closing 3 schools and boarding them up and having them sit in the neighborhood dormant until the city can get rid of them, which the city has not shown a good track record of economic development and using the properties once we turn them over either, because Harding is still sitting boarded up. So these are all the considerations that go beyond monetary, but the monetary portion has a piece in it that's not even fully fleshed out because it hasn't really been looked at.
So I want to address the dragging our feet thing. Because we're not dragging our feet, because what I can tell you is that we have been nonstop working on every single angle to address the needs of the district. The
Absolutely.
facilities
Mr.
master
Garcia,
plan.
I'm sorry, I apologize. You took that as a directed towards you, but more directed towards the board because we are the ultimate surveyors. We could say Dr. Avery right now, 3 of us. I think maybe I should just if we don't start moving on this, start having special meetings to dive into this, because this has been sitting down without the board having a footprint, a discussion, asking for more information about, and able to do any kind of intelligent debate or dissection of this to look for alternatives. That lies squarely on the board. That is not your purview. You've been asking to get this on, to your credit, for a while now. And that was not directed at you. That's directed at the board, because we tend to shy away from the hard conversations. And these are hard conversations because we're talking about new versus old. We're talking about closing schools. We're talking about a ruckus that's going to be potentially happening with closing these schools. And we haven't even got a cost analysis on the increased transportation costs, for God's sakes. And we're ready to approve this thing right now, predicating, and we haven't even got this out. The community doesn't even know this, since now you say it's not an impossibility, a possibility to renovate them as new or do new construction on these sites.
So I think the conversation that we need to have is within the facilities master plan. I think the approval of this evening is not saying that we're going to build this building. This approval is saying the city is taking a first step in a commitment, right? At any time, the board can decide that they don't want to do something, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to approve the next round of bonding, because this is not all of the bonding for the project. This just shows commitment. You have to approve the ed specification, right? So you have opportunities to go ahead and do what you see fit. But what we should be cautious about is that we don't take action, right? Because I'm going to have a hard time explaining to folks why we didn't take a first step, right? Because at the end of the day, we know that there's an issue. And can you add an addition to those buildings? Absolutely. But the city's going to be paying a lot more. And when you think about it, you add an addition to Edison. Where are folks going to park? Where are the kids going to play? These are things that we need to discuss in a meeting revolving around the facilities master plan. This evening, what we're asking for is for the city to have the ability to commit something so we can continue the conversation. If we don't, then we're pretty much saying that we're going to live with what we have and figure it out. But I don't see the city funding 3 different sites at the magnitude that we're going to need, because it's not going to be the Jamie, go back to the construction slide. It's not going to be the 60 million. It's going to be more than that, because this 60 million just fixes your issues. Now you have to add costs to add to that, right? So we're talking about, I don't know, $100 million, 150, $200 million versus 16 million.
Yeah, you
This is why we need to
gave us 3 million. You see, again, you just said the overall number. However, if we need the reimbursement rates. Where can I find a primary document that says we cannot get
DAS
reimbursed for
website.
anything?
DAS website, or you can reach out to Michelle Otero and she can forward it all to you.
Okay, thank you. Because I find it hard to believe. I'm going to reach out as well for the.
If you reach out directly to DAS, they can also, I'm sure they'll have a chat with you about it.
Okay,
the technical team is also well versed. I know that Ed Avram knows it inside and out.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm a paper kind of guy. I like to read it myself. You know that.
I hear you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Medina.
Thank you. I'm just trying to lower my hand and unmute my mic. I want to piggyback and help my colleague just understand a more direct answer to her question, Ms. Maritza. Regarding when we give up a school, and Mr. Garcia and anyone could elaborate or correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. Maritza, when we give up our school, this is why I'm very adamant about having main discussion, because the minute we give up our property, when we give up Bassick High School, that property, that is it. We don't have access to that property anymore. We don't have nothing. How George answered the question respectfully is he was giving you a answer, would give you an example of what happened with the Harding site. So once we give up a school, that's it. It becomes property of the city. We don't have access. We can't really ask for it back and say, oh, now we need it. No, whenever we stop using the property for educational purposes, again, I've been doing this for 15 years. That's it. The building belongs to the city. We don't have no access to it. And what George mentioned was that Harding was a special scenario where the city was planning to sell it to the hospital, and there was some bidding things. The hospital didn't want to pay for certain things that had to be done. So that's why it just stood there, and it is presently and has been deemed available. But the minute we give up that prime property of Bassick High School, that is it. It is done. I'd rather find out what the true cause of everything, have those meetings as an IHOP committee and sit down and say, you know what, if we need to tear down those buildings to keep it as an empty lot and keep it under our thing, that's fine. That'll take care of all the costs. And when we're ready to build something on there, we have the land. But I don't think that's possible in that scenario. But we need to have a plan for that site. And I think, adult education is a wonderful, wonderful avenue to discuss, like I mentioned before multiple times. But Maritza, once we give the property away to the city, that is it. It doesn't belong to us. The cost doesn't fall on us neither. Nothing belongs to us. It goes back to the city. We don't have access to that unless we get surprised or blessed, like with the Hardy site that is still available, that the city can give it back to us in a sense. So I want to make sure you understand, once we get rid of it, It's done. It does not belong to us.
Thank you.
Now, as far as the numbers, George, like we went back to the summary of finding for the project wide. I see that you have it here in that page that is presently on the screen. That 702.5 basically. I see the Skane, I see Sheridan, I see the Hall, Edison, Beardsley, Park City Magnet. I see Maplewood, I see St. Peter's estimate yearly lease. I see those things, but I don't see any other reimbursements for those things. I see the total cost for the possible renovations and things that the facility master plan had assigned to that particular school, but I don't see any other reimbursements. So to me, this data is not really giving us the proper numbers. Like Hall needs 17.7, but out of that 17.7, there is some reimbursement that can be had, correct?
No. Well, when we're talking about the need, the $17 million, that is a total number that the city will have to fund. There's no reimbursement rate for that because you can't do a renovate as new on that project, on that site. So the city is going to bear the cost. So this is where, when you look at the current, I mean, they're 100-year-old buildings. The bathroom is in the basement of that building. You know, we got to start to come to some sense of reality in terms of what we're dealing with and the inequity that is created because of that, right? So you have a brand new school. Let's take Marin, which is 20 plus years old, and put it up against one of those schools. It's not even in the same stratosphere in terms of what you can do educationally, because you start taking into account the program you have to run. When you have a kid on the third floor, just shuttling a kid from the third floor to the bathroom in the basement, how much time does that take? What are you taking away from the day when you're educating a kid? And I'm not an educator, but I look at these things because it's my job to ensure that I'm giving you the best information and the best recommendations that I can. I've been doing this for 30 years, and what I can say is that these buildings have far exceeded their useful life. I've built schools around the nation and around the planet at this point, and I can say that these buildings have no value in terms of the process. We need to do better for these kids. And I understand we want neighborhood schools and we want to do best we can with that stuff, but there's a breaking point in everything, right? Now, the total numbers that are in the FCA are numbers that the city would have to bear, right? And end of the day, I'm here providing a recommendation. That's my job. End of the day, you guys are going to set policy and we're going to do whatever you guys want. But when we look at this, we got to start to think differently, right? Because the children are at stake here and the taxpayer at the end of the day, because these are high, these numbers. I mean, they scare me. And I tell you all the time, there's going to be one thing that happens in one of these buildings that's going to cause us to shut them down. There's going to be one catastrophe away of trying to figure out what we're going to do with hundreds of kids.
I understand that point. So my last question, real quick, just in case, because I'm a fish, I like to fish. So I see I see in this thing, like I mentioned, I see Skane, Sheridan, and this list that we have before us right now on the screen. Did you know? Yeah, that's green. And I see Park City Magnet, Maplewood, St. Peter's. I see all the other schools. But as far as moving forward down the line on this presentation, I only see Beardsley School and numbers in Beardsley School. I see Edison School and I see Hall School. Why am I not seeing the other schools that are mentioned in that page, but I'm only seeing those particular three on this report, or what you're asking us, I guess, to approve something, which I'll get to that in a minute. Why I only see three out of all the schools that are listed on that report?
I'm kind of confused. So the East End School piece.
You see the school, the notice in front of you right now, the one that's on the screen.
Yep.
On there, it talks about Skane needs, Sheridan needs, Hall needs, Edison, Beardsley, Park City, Maplewood, and St. Peter's. All those schools are listed there. Whoever's controlling the screen, can you go down 2 more pages down, forward, please? Then there you have Beardsley. Next, please. Then you have Edison. And the next one after that, the last one is Hall. That's the only 3 that are shared, but the other schools that are in that first initial thing, I don't have that information.
Because what we're doing is we're showing you the data on the schools that are in the request that you're going to be approving for this evening. Right? So once again, we're looking for approval of this plan. And in this plan, there is that East End School. We wanted to give you the data so you can understand the impacts. So within the facilities master plan that's on the website, you can see every single school. We wanted to give you a snapshot of how things can lay out. I mean, there's a lot of work that's gone into this. And if we laid out every single scenario and every single detail, I mean, you're not going to have any employees to work here in the district.
Oh, no, I'm just saying you only gave the things for the, you're saying is the only reason those 3 are big, kind of like highlighted in this report is because they have to do with the East End School.
Yes, and that's on, if you can see the bottom line right here, what Jamie is highlighting, that $10 million is a portion of the cost share, right? So we wanted to show you the data that's in that report, right? Wanted to just take that out, make it simple so you could see the numbers.
Up to the chair. I'll give it back to you, Mr.
Okay, Mr. Medina.
No, I give it back to you. I'm done with my questions right now.
Yeah.
I just
Dr.
went through a loop.
Dr. Avery?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be very brief. I think George, I would want to personally thank you and your team. I mean, you've done a really good job of bringing, a very complex, scenario of the things that we're faced with in this district on the financial side into perspective. So I appreciate that. Your articulation of how it went down and making sure the clarity is there as well. And there's decisions that's having to be made, and one of those tonight is to provide this capital overview and approval. This is the first portion of our budgetary process of this district, and if we postpone this, it's going to postpone everything else in our general budget development process that we are having to work with the state on. Again, Ms. Sokopa, I understand your disagreement with me on that, but it's important that the board will consider a vote on this, and you can, wherever it falls, where it falls, and I will respectfully understand that, but I think we need to keep it moving. We're going to have a whole lot of difficult conversations moving forward in the next 3 months that not everybody in the room is going to agree to. But I think it's important that my job is to kind of keep this thing moving. And I'm going to do that to the best of my ability. And I'm going to respectfully, agree and disagree along the way. But, my job is to make sure that we have great opportunities for children in this district, and I'm going to do everything I can do to make that work. And I understand that a lot of you may disagree with me on it, but I'm okay with that. But I'm going to still make those recommendations because the state is watching every single thing that we're doing, and they want to make sure that we're going to be able to come together as a team to make difficult conversations and difficult decisions. And I think we're at that pivotal point right now to be able to do that. And I think we just need to keep it moving. So thank you, Chair. I'll turn it back over to you.
Mr. Benahan?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I make a motion to approve the Bridgeport Public School building operation for the year 2027-2031 capital request.
Second.
It's been a proper motion. It's been properly seconded. Is there any other further questions? Any other further debate? Well, besides myself, I've got a couple of more points and questions before we move on. One thing I want to address, Dr. Avery, is that the operating budget and the capital budget are two separate entities. If this is in fact denied or delayed in any shape or way, that does not mean that the work on the operating budget should ground to a screeching halt. And I would have some really big concerns if we were not able to handle those both things simultaneously. I would have really big concerns about the district, and I would probably encourage the state to actually take us over and replace us all if we can't get that done at the same time, because it's how it's been done all the time and throughout the districts. We do not grind to a halt just because one thing's not done. This is not a linear process. It's a holistic process that needs to be happening all at the same time. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, I just have a lot of concerns, and just because this is it's becoming a common theme with us on this board, as it was last time, we got to get moving, even though we don't have all the information in front of us. this upset us as a board to no end over the last 2 years. And this kind of pressure has never happened prior to 3-4 years ago. And to keep putting this pressure on this board, it's unfair because if things are brought to us in time, if we have proper documentation in time, if the board comes together and calls meetings and puts things on the agenda, and the chair puts things on the agenda and demands that we hear these things, we could get these things done. I will not be forced as a board member to make a rash decision based on last minute information, based on information out there, just because the state is watching. Because if the state is watching and they truly care about the city of Bridgeport, they want decision makers like me to take these things into consideration. They want the whole board to consider all these things and exercise that kind of authority. As they said, the board never has its hands on the budget enough. The board never has its hands on the budget enough. Now we're starting to put hands, starting to have questions, so some of us are anyway. And the pushback is, oh, we got to make a decision because the state's watching. No, the state's watching to see if we follow their recommendations to be a more hands-on board, to have more input in the budget. That's all I have. Mr. Medina?
Yeah, so as far as this document and what we're trying to get approved, I just want a little bit of clarity on we're doing this year, we're doing this whole plan. So that's for a BOE total of $116,051 and $116,051,479. Is that correct?
Yes.
70?
So it's the 5-year, you are approving the 5-year plan.
Thank you. I just want to check that. Yep. That's the only question I have right now, because again, I feel some kind of way because I feel that again, and everything that I've read with the facilities master plan, this East End School is being highlighted in this particular thing as part of it, and I don't think it was, and I don't, we'll talk about that later. And this is why I'm having some reservation, because I want to make sure all the deals are correct, because I don't want to approve anything that's trying to say that we're closing down schools or anything and it's forcing us. And I know you partially answered that, Mr. Garcia, and you mentioned it in your comment. This doesn't put us in any binding agreement of doing that such work, but I just I have my reservations. But thank you. Back to the chair.
Mr. Benahan?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I want to go back with Mr. Medina talk about the building. I agree with him, but you know what? I would love to keep that building. I would love to do adult education, parent convention, parent center, a lot of things for our parents. But you know what's the worst? It was the bad thing. We don't have the money. If we had the money, I know Mr. Garcia would let us know a long time ago. I wish I can win the lotto and win the $1 million. So I can say, let's buy the building for Bridgeport Public School. But
Powerball.
Me to do it right now. But you know something, I know is the reason we don't have the money. And I agree with Mr. Medina about everything we can do in that building, but we don't have it. And go back to you, Mr. Sokoloff. I know the state is watching, and that Mr. Avery said and everything, but guess what? Who elect us? Our community, our people, they're the one, our parents that are watching us. That's the people we have to answer them and work for them. A lot of people, they're watching us all over around. But guess what? I agree with what you say. But it's the people elect us. So we have to work and give an answer to the people. Whoever's watching us, welcome. Don't watching us. Come and help us and put the money in the table. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. I see Mr. Woodson, you popped on. I saw your hand up initially. Do you have a question?
No question.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns before we put it to a vote? Hearing none.
As a roll call?
Yes, please. Ms. Jimenez?
Yep. Mr. Benahan Grajales.
Can we have what's the subject? Is about please.
So yes, so we are taking a vote to approve the building operations 5-year capital plan. So with that, I'm just gonna go down the list. Mr. Benahan Grajales.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Woodson.
Yes.
Ms. Perez is not present. Mr. Joe Sokolovic.
I'm a no for the aforementioned reasons.
Thank you. Ms. Burks Jennings.
Yes.
Mr. Daniels is not present. Me, I vote yes. Mr. Rob Traber is not present. And then Mr. Medina.
I'm a no for the same reasons I mentioned before.
Okay, so that puts us at four yeses and 2 nays.
Motion carries. Thank you. And there's no more further bid. That's the last thing on the agenda, correct?
Yes.
Yes, it is. I will entertain a
No,
motion
just
to
one
adjourn.
more. Yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn, sir.
We have a second.
So move, Mr. Bernard.
That second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, everybody. Thank you. Good meeting.
Thank you.
God bless
Good
you
night,
guys.
everyone.
Thank
God
All right,
you.
Good
see you,
evening.
everybody. Have a great night.
Happy
Bye.
New Year's again to everyone.
Okay. Happy Three Kings tomorrow.